What are we supposed to eat? Because if the options is egg, just say that. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Is there no happy medium between health and taste? I really don't know. Then when it comes to the circadian rhythm and timing to eat, but what if I'm hungry before noon or after 6? You got me at odds with myself. Like, myself be like, I'm hungry, and I be like, am I really hungry, or is this just a craving? To me, it would make sense to go with nature, right? I could even understand if in the beginning, but if I have fasted and I have consumed nothing but fruits and vegetables and whole foods a month or two into that, and I feel hungry at a certain hour, is that now not nature? Or am I still craving? I feel like I have studied so many ways of living, and I keep coming back to this inconclusive. What works for some doesn't seem to work for all. And then there are just so many people that I feel have been so diligent on their paths of being vegan or being a certain way, and then to go back, it's like what is the healthy way? While I do feel compelled to be mindful of the environment and nature and animals, ultimately I would like to be healthy or have a state of wellness. I have tried many different ways of eating. Vegetarian, of course, I've eaten everything. Vegan, plant-based, raw vegan, high raw vegan, alkaline. And the more research I do, the more it just makes me like, what is the way? What is the way? And I want to do a video on the microbiome because that expands on this. In the meantime, being vegetarian includes foods that are not necessarily healthy, such as eggs and dairy. A certain amount. Then you have vegans. You could definitely have unhealthy ways of eating, because even Oreos is vegan. Tofu, which some people love, but I don't believe that that's healthy. To this day, I'm just like, what? Like, I get it when they say it's made of soy, but it's just like, it's like a block of. There are some reports of people with lower risk of different ailments and diseases and illnesses and things like that, and longer lifespans when they're vegetarian and vegan. But then I see people who have been vegan for a long period of time, and then they're no longer vegan, and they have dental issues, like their teeth are chipping, or they just seem malnourished, or they're missing certain nutrients for their teeth to stay strong. And that's like, wait. And you have like plant-based whole foods where you don't do so much of the process. So instead of having meat substitutes, you would have mushrooms or something like that, right? Which I feel, if you're going to be plant-based, that would be more of the way to do it. But I don't know. And you have raw, which when I look it up, there's certain foods that are indigestible. The body just simply cannot digest it if it's not cooked. Some plants have these defense systems where they produce, say, like cyanide or something like that, and it can be toxic to the human body. There are some plants that have such a thick exterior that you have to cut it or you have to cook it to break it down in order for that food to be digestible. Then there are some plants that have what's called anti-nutrients, meaning you cannot digest it unless it's either sprouted or it's soaked or it goes through some process to be consumed for your body to absorb it. What else? Oh, alkaline. I heard that alkaline doesn't truly exist, because while the fruit or vegetable itself may be alkaline, by the time you consume it, it doesn't change like the pH levels within your body. And then mucus to certain amounts is necessary within the body. ancients, right? So then people will talk about these ancient ways or how we traditionally would eat. And it's usually compared to something like ancient Egypt or Kemet, or however you want to term it, right? Kid you not, I looked up the life expectancy of an ancient Egyptian. Guess what that was? 30. 30. A lot of it was attributed to malnutrition, different types of infections, unclean environments like drinking the water from the Nile, which was bathed in. Sometimes waste, like bodily waste, would end up in the Nile, but it was also used as drinking water. Then there's wildlife in that water that does the same thing. Oh, this is what else I wanted to bring up, because I've been telling everybody about this. So I also looked up the longest living person, like that's documented. Trust me, I am well aware that information can be skewed, and trust me, I'm aware. But if we just working with what we got, this is what I'm seeing. And if anybody has more information or resources, I'm happy to check it out, because I truly want to know. Even the video that I did on sea moths, that's a question for me that hasn't been answered, other than just do the best that you can and, try not to obsess. Get into the longest living person, right? So the longest living person documented that I could find was this woman from France, and she lived to be 122 with no ailments. She did have cataracts, which seemed to lead to the loss of her vision, and she experienced some deafness shortly before passing away. But beyond that, she didn't have like diabetes, high blood pressure, any heart conditions or anything like that. Now, mind you, what I paid attention to about her was her way of eating. For breakfast, she would have milk, coffee, and a piece of cake. But I'm going to insert the word that it actually is because I can't remember. So it's not exactly cake, but let's just say cake. Then for lunch, she would have braised beef. After lunch, she would have a glass of wine and smoke a cigarette. They didn't really specify what her dinner was. After dinner, like before she went to bed, she smoked another cigarette. And she lived to be 122. And she started smoking when she was she said her husband introduced her to cigarettes, and she had been smoking from the time she was married until the time she passed away. She didn't have to work because her husband worked, and she bicycled until, I want to say, until she turned 110. So I am just like, so what's the way? I do feel like there's a difference in people. Each person can do different things. But I have definitely noticed how a lot of people will say, my uncle lived to be this age and they smoked cigarettes, they drank, they was on coke, they ate what they wanted to, chillings. I don't have the answers no more. And they even tested this woman neurologically, and she had the mind of an 80-year-old. Her reflexes were sharp. She had actually fallen one time, and I think she broke something, but she healed pretty quickly for someone of her age. She was also in France, so I do recognize that other countries have fresher foods than America. I forgot to mention food combinations. There are people who believe that there are certain ways that food should be combined, and what order we should eat, at what times we should eat, and I don't know any evidence on this either. So it would just really be nice to know somebody who has truly reaped certain benefits from certain practices like this. I feel like we are so confused and lost, and I just want to be healthy. Do somebody got the answer? Because I don't have the answer no more. And if you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe for more videos and share this kern. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Until next time, later. There are people who are vegan for reasons beyond health. There are people who are plant-based for the animals or its impact on the environment. There are people who are plant-based for a multitude of reasons. To bring this thing just a little bit, at least a little bit.